Yo, what is up guys? Dubois here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is a quick prediction for Jarrell Miller versus Daniel Dubois. This fight goes down on the 23rd of December and takes place in Saudi Arabia on part of that massive card, featuring Joshua versus Varleen and Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. I like those fights, fair enough. But for me, this is actually the real main event. This is the fight I'm looking forward to most, believe it or not. Daniel Dubois versus Jarrell Miller. Interesting fight. Now let's briefly break down the tale of the tape. Daniel Dubois has a record of 19 wins, 2 defeats, 18 of his 19 wins coming by way of knockout, whereas Jarrell Miller has a record of 26 wins, 0 defeats, 1 draw, 22 of his 26 wins coming by way of knockouts. Dubois is listed as 6'5" with a 78-inch reach, whereas Jarrell Miller is listed as 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. So Dubois has an inch in height, but Miller is the much bigger heavyweight here. Carries a lot more mass in that ring, very frequently weighing over 300 pounds. He really is a big lump, so to speak. Both of these guys are orthodox fighters. Daniel Dubois is 26 years old, whereas Jarrell Miller is 35 years old. So you would think that, Dubois certainly has a lot more in the tank, especially when you consider what's been going on. Miller has had long periods of inactivity. He's had more fights, he's older, had a kickboxing career as well before boxing. So in terms of wear and tear, I would assume that Daniel Dubois is the fresher man here, physically at least. Maybe not mentally, considering his 2 losses have been quit jobs, let's be honest. But yeah, it's an interesting fight. Now let's break down what I believe each guy should do to stand for best chance of winning. I think in this fight, Daniel Dubois will be in big trouble if he can't hurt Jarrell Miller, because I'm not convinced he's got the heart, the stamina, the strength, and all-round toughness to hold Miller off round by round. I know Miller is coming off that drug ban, so maybe his stamina is not what it was pre-that. But even against Lucas Browne, he was throwing quite a lot of punches. His output seemed to increase as the fight went on. If he brings that sort of pace, that sort of aggression, that sort of punch output, I think I honestly think it is imperative that Dubois hurts him. I really do. I can't see Dubois getting on his bike, popping the jab, trying to keep range, and winning a boxing match. I don't think he can do that for 12 rounds. I actually think Dubois needs to start this fight aggressively, behind that hard jab. I think primarily Dubois' best style is a come-forward, boxer-puncher, jab, right hand, left hook. But I think the straight punches in particular in this fight could actually be pretty useful for Dubois. Miller's a front foot guy, as we know, brings a lot of pressure, but he's a heavy guy. There's not really much upper body movement. His head is usually on centre line. He'll tuck his chin. Sometimes he'll roll with shots. He'll try and keep his arms up. But I think the straight punches from Dubois is what he needs to focus on. Power jab, long straight right hand, rinse and repeat, half step back. But don't run, don't mill around and become a boxer. 1-2, reset, rinse and repeat. Try to keep on walking Miller into those big straight shots, to try and get his respect. Don't box on the back foot, but hold your feet, 1-2, then back off, then reset. Try to walk Miller into big shots. Try to use his aggression against him. And maybe at times even mix it up when he's feeling comfortable. Come forwards now and again. Try to let go of a couple of combinations. Give Miller different looks. But again, I don't want to see Dubois become a back foot boxer in this fight, because I don't think that dissuades Miller from coming forwards. I think Miller needs to be put in his place. He needs to be made to realise he can't walk through these shots. And yeah, I think the dangerous thing for Dubois, I think there will be a temptation to use more movement than he usually would, and quite frankly, I think that would go bad for Dubois. I do. I think that would go bad for him. Probably would have success early on as he does it, but as the fight progresses, I think Miller will start to get closer and closer, get more confident, and he'll start to unload and really bully Dubois. So for me, Dubois needs to be the boxer puncher in this fight, needs to start aggressively, needs to be letting go of that straight right hand and the power jab. He needs to take initiative and try to take advantage of Jarrell Miller's leaky defense, because like I said, Miller does get caught. He does cover up well at times, and sometimes he'll like roll his head and shoulders to deflect shots and things like that, take the sting off shots, but he's there to be hit. He's there to be hit. It may even also be worth, throwing straights to the body, jabs to the body, jabs to the chest, straight right hand to the solar plexus. Try to slow down Miller, try to slow down those legs, try to slow down that output, try to drain his gas tank. But I think the key thing for me in this fight, Dubois needs to take initiative, and the worry for Dubois is he can be knocked off that rather quickly. He can be discouraged rather easily, as we've seen in fights with Usyk and Joe Joyce. Tends to feel sorry for himself at times. And, Miller is the wrong type of guy to do that against, given he has that pressure style, that high-octane, high-output style of fighting. Honestly, the way I see this fight, I actually think Miller, his style is horrible for Dubois. I actually think his style is horrible for Dubois. That's why I think Dubois needs to take risks. That's why I think he needs to fire that right hand. He really does. He needs to let go of power shots here. Maybe, again, boxer puncher, but also try to come forward sometimes. Let go of your hands, let go of combinations. Jab, straight right, left hook to body or head. Jab, left hook, straight right, whatever. Mix things up. Put it on Miller at times. Try to do that. As for Jarrell Miller, it's weird because if this fight was made, let's say for example, I knew Jarrell Miller now is as good as he was prior to the drug ban, I would pick Miller very confidently. But, Miller's been out for quite some time, been very inactive due to the drug bans. He looked okay against Lucas Brown, but a bit rusty. So it's hard to say where he's exactly at right now. But for Miller, I don't need to reinvent the wheel with Jarrell Miller, right? We know what he's going to do. He's going to march forwards and try to walk Dubois down. Sometimes he'll come forwards with a high guard. Sometimes he'll come forwards with like a low lead hand. He'll flick the jab, and then try to open up with combinations as he closes the distance. But he's going to try and walk down Dubois, and that's exactly what he should do. He should be asking questions of Dubois, questions of his heart, his stamina, his chin, etc. And he needs to put it on Dubois right from round one. The only thing I will say is that Miller maybe needs to pay more attention to defense in this fight. Maybe a high guard is more appropriate here for Jarrell Miller, because Dubois, for all of his faults, can crack, and arguably, he may be the biggest puncher Miller's fought as a pro heavyweight in boxing. Maybe, Lucas Brown can hit hard, but I'd say Dubois is a better technical fighter. He delivers the shots better, so I'd say that Dubois is probably the hardest puncher Miller's fought. So I do think he needs to pay more attention to defense here. Again, maybe the high guard is the most appropriate option, because Miller's not exactly going to be a guy leaning back, upper body movement. He's not that sort of guy. But yeah, I can't really sit here and say what I think Miller should do. We all know how he's going to fight. We all know what he's best at, and that's what he should do. Try to target the body of Dubois, try to work on the inside, because for me, Dubois not really comfortable up close. He needs space to work, Dubois. He's most effective at long range on the outside, and especially at mid range. That could be the danger zone for Jarrell Miller, is as he's crossing from the outside to mid range to inside. It's that crossing the outside to the mid range that could be dangerous for Miller. Because, Dubois got a good overhand right, he's got a good left hook, even an uppercut at times he can throw in there as well. So Miller needs to be very careful when he closes the distance, especially early on when Dubois is fresh. So the only thing I would say for Miller is just pay more attention to defense. If he's defensively sound in this fight, or sounder than he usually is, and then he combines that with his pressure, I think there's a very good chance he wins this fight. I do. But yeah, how do I see this fight going? Again, the only reservation I have is how good is Jarrell Miller now? That's the only reservation I have. That's, due to what's gone on. So that does put a doubt in my mind about this fight, which is why I like it. It does put a doubt in my mind, but I think I'm going to go with Miller. I still think his style is horrible for Dubois. I really do. I think his style is horrible for Dubois if Dubois can't hurt him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dubois can't hurt Miller. I wouldn't be surprised because Miller's always shown a good chin. I know he's not fought a lot of punchers in pro boxing, but Lucas Brown can crack, and he landed some good shots, never really affected Miller. Miller's been kicked in the head, took those shots in kickboxing, so I suspect Miller's got a very good chin. I do. And yeah, so my prediction in this fight is a Jarrell Miller late stoppage. Last sort of 3 to 4 rounds, I think Miller's going to stop Dubois. Will he quit for a third time? Possibly. But I think Miller's going to stop Dubois here. And he's going to reintroduce himself to the heavyweight landscape, whether people like it or not. I'm glad Miller's back personally. I think he offers something different. I know a lot of people are still butthurt about the drugs, but newsflash, all of these guys juice. Certain guys can just get away with it better than others. And yeah, I've got Miller winning this fight. I've got Miller by late stoppage. What about you guys? Share your thoughts below. Peace.